Okay, we're all set. It is 5:36. This is Councilor McBride, and we will call the meeting to order the Property Reuse Committee on August 17th at 5:36. For roll call, we have Councilor Bordelon as president, as well as Councilor Westervelt. The first order of business is to have any public comment. So I'm going to open up the floor to any attendees that would like to speak. I have Ian Thomas. I'm going to select him and allow him to talk, as I think what I'm doing here. Hopefully this works. Ian Thomas, did that?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing well,
Excellent.
honestly, I don't have any comments to make. Beyond saying that I appreciate the work you all are doing, and I'm excited to see the outcome of the process as it carries on.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert Frink, I'm going to call upon him too. I'm not sure if he has anything to discuss as well, but Robert Frink, I see you're an attendee. Wasn't sure if you had anything to comment on. I figured I'd ask.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I've been following you now for the last 3 or 4 meetings. I find I'm very interested in what you're doing from 2 perspectives. One is as a citizen, and the other is I'm chairman of the board of the Groton Housing Authority. And so land use, potential use of town land for housing is something I'm interested in, and hope you are too. Okay, so thank you.
Certainly, thank you. Anything else, or is that?
No, I understand you're going to have an in-person meeting in September. That was your
Yes.
your last meeting, and I'll be attending there, and I'll be more formal in my requests and thoughts.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for that. All right, so we'll continue on. I don't see any other attendees. So we're going to move forward with the agenda. The next item is communications. Has anyone received any formal communications? I have not received anything formal via email since the last meeting we had 2 weeks ago. Not sure if any other councilors have.
This is Councilor Bordelon. I have not, just the communications as a councilor pertaining to the other items from short-term rentals and other things, but nothing in particular to this particular process.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Westervelt. Anything?
Yes, I haven't heard, I mean, I've had conversations, but no, I haven't had any formal communications with anyone regarding this. Well, actually, I won't call it formal, but one question that is a constant is when we, as we get moving forward, and I see we are inviting, people to come and talk. And so people are curious if we are going to be able to expand, and I think that's part of the agenda tonight, be able to expand to include citizens on our committee, or if it's just going to be getting input from them.
Yes, okay. Understood. Yeah, thank you for that. We've definitely covered that as well. Okay, thank you. Next order is the approval of the minutes. I believe you all had the opportunity to review or receive the draft minutes. If you just want to take a look at it, take a little further look, give you a minute or two to make any comments that you may have, any changes, any recommendations, or if not, propose a motion to approve. So we'll just wait until you've had the opportunity to take a look at it.
I read this all in advance, so I'll motion to approve, but we can wait until you guys are all set to second it.
I am prepared to, I'll second the motion.
Okay, the motion has been made by Councilor Bordelon and seconded by Councilor Westervelt. Any other discussion on the minutes? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Councilor Bordelon, I'm assuming that was an aye as well. I'll assume that's a 3-0 vote. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Old business. Now we're going to get back to the meat of the the agenda, which is the town property reuse evaluation process. So I did have some conversation with John Burt after we met. I think I was tasked with discussing with him how to come up with a better property listing. We had a large listing of everything. In discussions with him, it became very apparent that that listing contained every single piece of property, as we know from last meeting, and a lot of it was irrelevant for what we were looking at. So in discussions with him, he did indicate that the two properties that are probably of interest of this committee and moving past this committee are the Pleasant Valley School and the SB Butler School. So I did include in the package the pictures, the photograph, the geographical GIS of those two pictures for review. Not that we have a lot to discuss tonight, but we wanted to include as part of our package, as part of this agenda, as part of the, the plan, we want to include the photographs of those potential properties and include them. And I guess we're going to look to review that quarterly, but that's going to be part of the process that we're developing. So hopefully you did see those were included in there. And I think we're going to move forward with that in the future as well. But did everybody see those diagrams? Because those are the main two that we're going to try to focus on going forward. I did discuss with him SB Butler, and I believe the understanding from the feedback that the town has been given, town manager Burt, through all the events that they've had and hosted, that property as of now is going to probably, I think they're looking to maybe keep that in-house and not sell that because of the location and so forth. So I don't, my thought was he didn't want to move forward with that. But we always could add that to the list. If this group or the group beyond us deems necessary, we can certainly do that. But as of now, the main focus is on those two properties going forward. So any questions on that?
I have a question. I just want to make sure you got me as being in favor of the minutes. I heard it cut out for a minute, so I apologize.
Nope, that's fine. I did get you
regarding the two document the maps. I'm just, if you could restate what you said, I'm a little unclear.
Yeah, we had at the last meeting when we discussed, we went through the property listings that the town administration had provided to us. And it was 3-4 pages long. It had a list of every single piece of property, little strips of land here and there that aren't really for sale. They're, when a property is sold and somebody deeds a piece to the city, they're not large pieces of property. Where what town manager Burt indicated was the two main focus points for not necessarily this committee, because we're in charge of drafting the plans, but for the moving forward with an RFP process, or whatever, for which properties. His understanding was these two properties, the ones that this group and the next group beyond this should be looking at. So it's really just as part of the review process that we're doing, we wanted to include properties that are relevant to this process. So these two are the two that are going to go into our document as of now. I mean, that's what I'm presenting, but we're subject to change. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess I'm a little confused because my idea of this group was to come up with a plan or a draft that would be used townwide for all properties, not really singling out any particular properties. Our job is not really to kind of create a master plan for those properties. Our job is to come up with a document so that properties, when presented in the town, follow a process in which has proper vetting, good vested interest, council involvement, making sure background checks are being done, as well as, all the other things that should go into a good vetting process and document as to how the town is going to propel their properties. But I didn't really think we were narrowing it in on any particular property. So I'm a little confused by that.
Yeah, no, I guess you make a good point. And maybe I didn't explain it well. I think where there's a disconnect, and you kind of brought it forward, was we should take the listing that we had at the initial meeting 2 weeks ago and maybe have the administration list, maybe prioritize these two properties is what they're kind of indicating on the top of that. It's where the focus point will be. And then the bottom, the remainder of the properties, we should have why or why not the administration thinks they should not be considered. But I think your point's well taken, that we should still have them as part of this process, and not just select the two. So I understand what you're saying, and I'll take that and incorporate that in this.
Yeah, I didn't think. Right, I don't think that I thought we were negotiating what property should be used or not. I thought we were trying to gather with the public input information to come up with a process and a document that would identify how the town should operate when dealing with property. But my understanding, we weren't necessarily identifying properties or in particular. I'm still a little confused.
Yeah, no, I think you're, I understand what you're saying. So I didn't explain that probably in terms of the linkage. So I jumped to C before going through B, which is A was the full listing of the property that we reviewed a couple weeks ago. B would be prioritizing that list and identifying it into the location where it is, what it contains, and why or why not it could be considered. But I think the point was to part C would be to list these two as the most likely properties to move forward with. With understanding that there could be others that this group or whomever may determine they want to do something with. Does that make sense?
Again, I'm still confused. I don't think we should be prioritizing any properties. I think every property should be a priority. Our goal here is to draft a document to better navigate the town, because currently what we have is barely little oversight and very little navigation as to how many developers do we bring around the table? When do we bring the counselors to the table to discuss those? Why are we only seeing the top 3 developers? That is kind of what I thought I was tasked to do here. What my interest in my referral actually was, is after the MOSA, the data centers, I felt like there needed to be more information early on that was not being disseminated to all the people and the character witnesses and people in our community that need to be involved in that. As far as how the property in our town are disposed of or sent away, or that's another step in the document, but I don't think there's a priority here. I think the process that I was originally thinking we were going to write would encompass everything. So no matter what property we decided to, a school gets turned over that's closing, that property would go through a process, and then we would determine, okay, can we build, senior housing? Do we need low income housing? What do we need? I didn't think that we were prioritizing any properties or singling out anything in particular. The document that I was hoping to generate would stick for everything.
Yeah, and I am understanding what you're saying, and that's what I'm getting back to, is what that document should contain is a listing of all of the properties, which is what we had. But I do think we need to list on that property listing what those properties contain, because if it's, what each one of those parcels are, because I think from there, the reader will be able to determine that it's possible, then I think you come up with a priority list. So I think we're talking about the same thing. You just want to get back to seeing the full boat of all the properties. And I think what we need to do is, with that full listing, we need to provide some more clarity on that full listing to determine if any of them are relevant to move forward with in any capacity. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm agreeing with what you're saying. I kind of jumped the gun on with these two being where it's likely the administration wants to move forward with, but I understand your point that may not be what is the best decision that the group wants to make. So we can go back and edit that initial document to include information that will be more comprehensive and list out where all those, what all those properties are, whether they're for example, all the trails that we have throughout Groton, a lot of those properties are just going to be, they are trails. We probably won't, I'm guessing the committee or whoever it will be probably won't do anything with those properties, because you're not going to, I would imagine you're not going to sell that property, but to have that database is what you're searching for, the complete listing. Is that correct?
I kind of also, this is like kind of also a development process as well. It's, a property comes on sale, maybe it's not even one that we own, but what is our process here when we are looking at an investor in the town, and they come to council for certain things, what is our process for owned property as well when we are selected to pick the top investor, like MOSA, for example, right? We were tasked, there was a process, and people overwhelmingly stated that they thought that process was not as transparent and as open. Who did the scoring system? The council, for my example, when I was on the council at that time, I only got to see the preferred developer. I didn't get to see everybody leading up to. So my understanding is that we were creating a document, not just the properties we have, but also like that process in which we would be looking and navigating through in a very open.
Right. No, I agree with what you're saying. And I think that is what we're working on later on in the document. I think the beginning of the document, what we wanted to change was we wanted to get a listing of all the properties, which we got a few weeks ago. We wanted to get a map of the properties that are relative and to have them as part of the process and to review quarterly. And that's kind of think what we're talking about right now. And that's where I think we need to get back to taking that master list, including some additional information on it. So that master list has all the properties and has what's relative to those properties, whether they're a trail, whether they're, whether anything should be done with those properties. And then I think from there, these two properties can be attached to it. And if the group determines that some of those other properties should be also looked at to develop, to make into trails, whatever it may be. So I guess all the conversation we're having so far really just focuses on the listing and the maps and identifying all the town-owned land that we have that we want to decide what to do with. And then I think that's that in my view is kind of like the first step. And then the second step is the process that you're talking about. That is the next, once we identify, or whomever identifies the land that we want to look at doing something with, then we have to move forward and, as you're discussing, come up with
and I think my referral to get to this point to this committee was the main purpose of this committee should be to revise and firmly define the process by which any property on that list will be deliberated upon and disposed of. Like at times they were saying, for example, when I say disposed of, Pleasant Valley School going on the market out for bid. Okay. Mm-hmm. My idea of this committee was to
Council, you broke up there a little bit.
P&Z involvement, council, town manager.
Councilor Bordelon, you broke up about a minute ago. If you would start over from there because we kind of missed you.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that taking I was talking about the process in which the details being relevant, but also that this main purpose of this committee, which should be to revise and firmly define the process by which any property on this list is deliberated on or disposed of, as it was stated, like when we got rid of Pleasant Valley and then they went out to, they put an RFP out. We need to have a process about how does that RFP go out? How many developers are we seeking? What are we seeking? What's in that development process? Okay. Not just targeted land right now that we know is sitting there ready to be developed. The process I'm looking for is a firm process that would follow all properties, making sure there is a firm process in which the vetting is done in an equal, fair way, and that the council as well as the community are involved and know early on what's going on.
Understood. I think that's what we're doing.
The process, the goal of this is the process needs to be revamped, such as more inclusive of the community. Talking about the properties in detail is irrelevant until the process itself is revised, vetted, finalized by the council, and then analyze the properties. So I feel like we need to get a strong document first as a process, and then we work through the properties. But once we have a process, the process will guide us through the properties.
Well, I on the other hand, I think a townwide listing would assist in reviewing, having the group understand what's available. But either way you can dice it, you're still going to get to the same end result, which is going through the process. So why don't we dig into the document and go through some of those specific items? And just
right. And where are we at on that? So I sent. I see all my revisions in the agenda in purple. I know when we first had our second meeting, there were some red notes from someone else, but I haven't seen any other. Are there any other revisions to date from anybody else for this document that I might be missing?
Those are the only revisions that we received, is the purple and the red ones you referred to. I did give some thought. Councilor Westfeld, is your hand up?
It was, but you go ahead and finish and then I'll jump in.
Well, I was just going to say, I did give some thought. I want to get both of your input on. We have made some, revisions to the document, some changes, some recommendations. But I would like to ask the two of you, if you thought the next meeting, which we have scheduled for 2 weeks from today, if we could have an in-person meeting, the three of us at, senior center, wherever it may be, because I think it would help me to work in tandem with the two of you and actually go through the document live in person where we can actually make changes. I think it's helpful. We're sharing each information via email to each other. But sometimes for a working document like this, I think it would be best just to kind of sit in a room and kind of go through it with each other and add comments and add changes and, really spend 2 hours going through it. If the two of you would be available to that.
And I thought the goal at the last meeting for my notes here is that other counselors were going to bring forth items that they wanted to that they wanted to edit in so that we could have time to process them over the next 2 meetings. But I haven't received anything.
Yeah, I think, our goal all along has been to receive comments and edit them and place them into the document. And, we're doing the best we can in what we receive, but we're always at, willing to make changes and comments. But you are correct. Our end goal, as we discussed last meeting, was to have a public event on the 7th of September with a draft document with all of our comments incorporated to send out a few days before the 7th. So everybody would have a chance to review it and provide comment.
Right. And I was hoping to see some of the other edits from other counselors on the committee just so I could review them over the next 2 weeks. And I didn't receive anything. I pretty much exhausted all my edits thus far. I have some other stuff that I've been working on. All the purple are my current edits. So tonight I listened for your guys' input on what you guys want to change.
The current document as it is, I'm having trouble treating it as a live document, being able to make changes to it. I don't know if it's because of the computer that I'm using, but I do move computer to computer, so I have had trouble keeping them all together. Most of my stuff is handwritten. Some of the comments I have, they involve zoning, and also the different parcels, what those, if adjacent parcels, zoning for different parcels, impact on adjacent neighborhoods, that sort of stuff. I wasn't able to incorporate it in this document using the computer that I had. So
is there any way you can just type it up on a single sheet and send it so all your thoughts are on the paper?
Actually, what I can do is I can export this to my work computer and I can turn it into a Word document and I can add it to that.
Yeah, and even if you don't want to add it to this particularly, just send the list, number 1, here's your edit, and just type it up. And that way we have something to look at.
Yes, no, I understand that.
Okay.
Yeah, and just so we're on the same page, the comments that I had provided I provided mine, 3 or 4 weeks ago. So those are the ones in red that I didn't have any additionals from them. But I do think once we get into a room and go through this and logistically do the walkthrough of an event, I think we'll have more
right.
time.
And Councilor McBride, I don't see the red ones in our agenda this meeting, though. I don't know where they are.
I don't think they were added to this. I think Lisa put them in the last 2 meetings we had. They were in those. It wasn't added to this agenda.
Right. So this document should have the red and the purple now, so that shows the 2. And that's what I was envisioning. So you kind of, every 2 weeks we're bringing more things, and that's what's going to move us forward.
I'll be able to get you the changes or the edits that I have or the suggestions that I have before the end of this week.
Yeah, and I'll have her repost my comments with the next edition. And I think Councilor Westervelt, if you could include Lisa on your comments as well, that way she has it. So back to Portia's point, that way she'll submit them all for the next meeting on the 31st.
Sure, I can do that.
So are there any other comments on, I provided some comments, Portia provided her comments. Scott, you're looking to provide your comments. And it's really just getting back to merging the comments together, expanding where we need to, and finalizing the document. That at the end of the day is what we need to do. I think at the 31st meeting, even before the 31st, if you can do some legwork, but at the 31st meeting, which I'd like to do in person. And if that date doesn't work, we could do another date. But I would like to try to work in person if possible. Any thoughts on that from anyone?
I can meet on the 31st. And I would like to make that, if we can make that an in-person meeting, I think that would be helpful.
Portia, I know you had indicated you had some worker items prior. Would it help to make that a 6 o'clock meeting, or if you're able to, or is that still a good time for you? Councilor Bordelon, I'm not sure if you're there.
You state that again, I'm sorry.
I was just wondering if Councilor Westfeld said he could do the 2 weeks from today on Wednesday in person. Wanted to get your thoughts on if you could do in person, and if the 5:30, because I know you have something prior to this, if that time works for you, or would you prefer 6 o'clock, or?
5:30 usually works for me. Just today, it was just a late day at work, but in person's fine.
Okay.
And the 31st is good.
Yeah, I already had that in my calendar per our last meeting that we were going to meet.
And David, remember, I think we have to make this, does this have to be, I think you were going to find out if this had to be a special meeting, because it is in addition to our regular meetings.
Yes, and I did email Lisa earlier. Regarding it. So I'll follow
I just
up
want to
with
make
her.
sure we're
Yes, agreed.
good.
So again, I don't really have a lot more to go over. I think we need to go over, I need to talk with John about the listing, which I think is relevant, but maybe if you guys don't, maybe we don't need to include it, but we can decide that, on the 31st. Any other comments on the document? Do you want to walk through it now, or do you guys want to?
I don't have anything to walk through. I mean, I pretty much know the purple and what was already there. I might have some new additions by then. I will send them out over the next week. As far as the meeting in person, I think that's.
Portia, we lost you there. You were talking
Great.
about.
But I also think that if we do, with any thoughts?
Councilor Bordelon, we lost you there. You were saying. We lost
The
you on
31st. So the document, I pretty much know what's on there, since the purple is what I've submitted. As far as the 31st goes, in person is fine. I think it would be great to allow public comment as well,
For sure.
just in case anyone has anything to say. And I will be submitting some more additions over the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Can I just make one more comment
course.
about the list? Because I'm kind of agreeing with both of you on this. I think yes, the process is very important regardless of what property is on that list. But I do believe, I think we're going to end up with eventually multiple processes, because, and then, well, I'm sorry, one main process with some slight deviations depending on the type of property. And I think we should ask the town manager or town staff to continue their efforts to better delineate that list for what those properties are and where they are. Just because there's no reason to stop them from doing that while we're doing what we're doing, because by the time we're ready to start looking at those, maybe they can have that additional information that we were looking for. But not stopping what we're doing here and moving forward with the process.
Sure, and I will reach out to him regarding that and agree to continue moving forward on both areas.
I also think that it's important too, if there's any contamination or brownfields defined in any of these properties, it would be good to have that annotated somewhere. So that way we can keep track of, when grants come up, as well as making sure that we're, clearing the environment as best we can. I know it has some fields that,
Yeah, great, good point.
I agree.
Councilor Bordelon, we lost you after adding contamination onto the properties. Was there something else you wanted to include? Because we both agree that was a great point to add that onto the listing.
I'm sorry, say that again.
We heard you and agreed, with your comment about adding any contamination or brownfield and, those type of items on the listing, but then we lost you. Wasn't sure if we missed anything else.
No, just basically it'd be great because that way we can track when grants are available and there's properties that maybe need to be remediated now that could be just fixed and could be used in another manner that we're just kind of overlooking. So I just want to make sure we're executing all possibilities.
Yep, good point. Okay, so I think we're really at the point now where we're just soliciting as much public comment, solidifying our comments, putting it together, coming up with a draft, revised draft, getting it out to the public, and then having this session, making sure people have the opportunity to comment and provide thoughts and changes on the document. Are we on the same page with that? Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds fine to me. And I just think over the next 2 weeks, if any other counselors have any other comments to add, if they can send them, that way they can be reviewed before. And I will be working over the next 2 weeks to make some more additions and edits that I feel might be necessary and submitting those beforehand as well.
Okay. No, that sounds great. And we'll all come together, hopefully have a nice working meeting on the 31st. And I know we mentioned earlier about forming a committee. I don't know if we need to take that up right now or not, because I think we're really at the point of the document. I think the committee expansion, we could probably look to do that, but I think that's probably after the 7th. If what are you guys' thoughts on that? I don't think it would behoove getting people involved right now. They do have the opportunity to provide comments. So if you're okay with moving forward without actually extending the committee at this point, I think we can certainly do that after the 7th based on people's comments. But I want to hear from you as well.
My opinion would be that we could expand. I think right now I want to see what all 3 counselors are putting forward and get that document solidified and laid out. And then we have the public comment. And then based on that public comment, there might be key people there that want to be part of the committee that we can identify, bring them on board, and then start to add their additions into the document as we deem necessary.
I agree. I think that's what David was saying, and I agree with both of you.
Yeah, no, that makes good sense. Okay, so I'm not sure, is there anything else either one of you would like to discuss? I think we're on the same page. We just got to get our ducks in a row for the 31st and open to the public for the 7th. Any other comments or thoughts or questions?
My next comment would be if the town manager, if it can't come through us, does P&Z want to come and present to us about their processes to maybe identify to us where there may be some strengths and weaknesses in the town process and ways in which we might want to consider adding some things into this document to give it the thrust that it needs to help them come around the table a little bit sooner. One of the things that I've noticed early on in a lot of properties is that P&Z is coming to the table way too late.
That's a great point.
Any suggestions or things that may make the process easier?
Yeah, and hopefully they would hopefully they're reviewing the document and maybe they would come out on the 7th and provide comments, if not previous to that. But I will reach out to the town manager.
And it would be nice maybe to extend an invite to some of those folks, saying that that's what's going on, and just as long as we're staying within our, our we're extending where we can. I just think it'd be great to have someone come out and explain the P&Z process and in ways that, other towns seem to somewhat kind of capture that a little bit earlier to, help expedite the process, but also streamline it. And so we're not, basically agreeing to contracts knowing that, it's not even in our zoning, that type of stuff.
Yep, good point. And possibly even the Economic Development Committee to see if they have any interest on that as well. So I will certainly reach out to town manager on that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments from either counselor? Any thoughts?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
We didn't go through a tremendous amount of detail, but I think we have a plan for going forward, and over the next couple of weeks, we'll get our homework done and be ready to roll, get this document up and ready and get the public involved. So sound like a plan?
I apologize for the delay that I have caused, but I will be able to get those comments out to everybody before the end of this week.
Yeah, no apology needed. Everybody's busy.
No apology.
We're all working through this and trying to do the best we can. So, and I think we'll accomplish our goal of getting a good document out there.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
So, okay, with that being said, if anyone wants to, unless there's anything more to review, anyone wants to make a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I'm looking at some notes here. The economic development would be great. And any other partners and groups with the projects, any way we can just, however their process is explained so that we can kind of have a presentation from P&Z as well as economic development so that we can kind of look and listen and kind of hear how this happened. Like we can take some of the key projects that have already come through and find out what was that process, how many did you guys narrow it down to, and what is your scoring process? Like, I think that's really important to know what the process is.
So, yeah, really soliciting additional feedback and comments from EDC and P&Z on the process. Okay. Yep, I got it. Sounds good. Anything else, councilors?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn has been made by Councilor Westervelt.
I'll second that, Councilor Bordelon.
Thank you. Second. Motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion on the motion to adjourn? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Thank you for your time, everyone, and we'll look forward to seeing you all in 2 weeks at an in-person meeting.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you,
too.
guys. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep. Bye.